All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in this lesson, I wanted to deal with a sanity check. Okay, sanity check, and what I mean by that is, you know, I think I did a lesson similar to this, some time ago, but it's always important to reiterate these sort of key aspects, right? Which is, being in this truth. It's kind of like living a double life, where you have things that you take care of, right, in the world, as the scriptures say. Um, basically being, if I'm remembering this correctly, users of the world, but not abusers of it. All right, but all in all, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. And that means being in this world means you still have to take care of responsibilities, right? Things that you need in order to in order to sustain yourself. Okay, and there are times when it might start to feel a bit overwhelming. It's always easier when you have a nice good balance, right? Where you have time allotted, primarily first and foremost, to doing the work of the Lord, and then you also you plan accordingly, right? Our main planning strategy is the word of the Lord first, and then everything else is sort of structured and planned around that. Okay, but there are times when things, whatever it may be, sometimes unexpected, whether it's expenses or cases or trials, or, and when I say trials, I mean not in a court sense, in a carnal sense, but it could be, right? But I mean like spiritual trials, right? Satan throws something at you, whether it's an injury or whatever the case may be. Every so often something comes up that sort of throws off your schedule, right? It throws off your rhythm. And some people are affected more than others, but Lord willing, the point of this lesson is to just remind you to keep your sanity, right? To keep your head on your shoulders, because at the end of the day, the bigger picture, all right, which is important to look at because um, it keeps you grounded. The bigger picture is all of this is temporary, all right, as it is written in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. All of it is temporary. So always keep that in mind, especially when you're stressed, because oftentimes when you're stressed, you're either trying to fix something or trying to accomplish something or get something done, and maybe it's not going according to plan, and then it starts to stress you out. It starts to take more of your time. It starts to take more, and really the part where it's more detrimental is when it starts to take more of your, as today they'll say, it starts living rent free in your life or in your head, right? So at that point, it's always key and crucial to take, to pause, to look at the bigger picture, take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Okay? Because at that point, you start to calm down again and realize, what, I'm stressing about this, but hey, pray, leave it to the Lord, right? It says, I believe it's in Philippians, if I'm not mistaken. I forget exactly what verse, either Philippians or Ephesians, but the Apostle Paul mentions being careful for nothing. But with everything, with prayer and supplication, make your requests be known unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So whatever it is you're going through, sometimes the Lord sends tests your way, and they manifest in a carnal sense, but they're to test you on something that you may not be aware of. Okay, that may come into play later down the line. You never know. Okay, but the point is, keeping that cool head, keeping a calm, mental, clear mental space, because once you really lose that, that's what those demons, that's what they really feast on, right? Once you lose that and you start bugging out, you start, getting all stressed out, you basically drop everything. You don't want to end up in that situation. So there are certain things you just gotta, keep your head down, tough it out, and hey, remember what the scriptures say about being over righteous much, right? We're all at the end of the day only human, which means there's a limitation on what we can do, how much you can think of at once. And one thing I've noticed is oftentimes a lot of stress or stressful situations become more stressful when you try to solve them yourself. Now, what I mean is, I don't mean sit there and say, well, I'm throwing my hands up and call it a day, and then we'll see what happens, or flip a coin inside of a water fountain and then wish for the best. No, what I mean is, there's only so much that you can do to affect the situation, and you do your best, of course, to mitigate whatever it is. But the real heavy lifting comes from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and that's why the first primary thing to do is to pray to the Lord and then do your best and let the Lord take care of the rest. This allows you to not overthink certain things, because certain situations arise. And what I'm saying is situation agnostic, meaning this is not specific to just one particular situation, right? Whatever your case is, like I mentioned before, it can result in the same thing, which is to stress you out, which is to try and throw you off your center, right? Try and throw you off your rhythm. And that's really, like I said, how demons really get you. If they can throw you off your rhythm, it's almost like you lose your footing. And then you either catch yourself or hold on to something to keep your balance, or you fall. But even when you fall, you got to get back up, right? You can't let the embarrassment kill you. You got to get back up. So that's why ultimately, when these things happen, the primary thing to do is to pray to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and just remember that it's all temporary. Remember the bigger picture here. Everything that you're doing now that is not in direct correlation to the ministry of the Lord or the work of the Lord, but it's a necessity and you have to do it, it's still going to be in vain. It's needed and it's needful now, but it's still going to be in vain, right? Because the scriptures talk about the works that we do for the Lord, not your 9-to-5 job, but for the Lord. That is what's going to follow us. Okay, that is what we're going to get rewarded based on. So whether you're in a low position or you're in a high position, right? Whether you're in a low position or you're in a high position, at the end of the day, what's really counting is the work you're doing for the Lord. Okay, all whatever status, rank, position, whatever you're in on this side, it's all going to fade away. It's all going to be dissolved, as the scriptures say. Okay, so try not to let that mess up your head, because at the end of the day, it's temporary. Why lose your mind and your sanity and ultimately hinder the true work that you have to do based on something that's temporary, that very soon is going to be dissolved? It's always key to remember that. But I will say that there's a balance to that. Just because it's temporary does not mean that drop everything in your life and be a hermit or something like that. Okay, because then it's going to work negatively against you. So you have to find the fine line, right? The balance, and you got to walk that. And that's what makes things difficult, because it's not all the way on one side, and it's not all the way on the other side. There are cases where you have to basically make a decision between both. All right, and that makes things a little bit more difficult. And Salakia, for not having, I'm driving right now, so I just decided to do an in transit, and Lord willing, to be edifying and exhorting to the elect, because hey, we all go through it. We all go through it. We're in the flesh, so things come up. Even the men of old in the scriptures, they went through things. Right? The Apostle Paul mentioned having a thorn in his flesh, that he prayed to the Lord on numerous occasions for the Lord to rid him of it. Now, we don't know exactly what it is, but whatever it is, it had to have been a hindrance or a nuisance to him. So, hence he mentions it. But guess what? It was still, the Lord still had it there. So though the Apostle Paul, we read about all the mighty works that he did, the things that he did, where he went, what he did, and so on and so forth, guess what? He still had things that he had to go through, and he still had to maintain his sanity. Yeah, having spiritual power, being able to cast out demons out of people, being able to, know that the Lord is directly dealing with you. And what I mean is, like, you can see he confirms the things you say and do by signs. And yet, even then, with all those traits and attributes, you're still subject to the temptation of man. You're still subject to the things that affect us all as humans. Okay, and you still have to examine yourself. You still have to keep that cool head. Okay, because the more you learn, King Solomon said that, right? In much wisdom is much grief, roughly paraphrasing. And the more you learn and the more you grow, the more these demons are going to try to throw you off. you know. But then again, on the flip side, the stronger you get to where you can remain balanced. Okay, and that's something that's very, very important to keep in mind. So, in closing, what I want to quote what Yahushua said. I believe in the book of Matthew, the 5th or 6th chapter, he mentions, seek ye first the kingdom of God, right? And everything else, will come after. So the Lord will alleviate those problems if you maintain your primary focus on doing the work of the Lord. What that does not mean that something is going on, right? And you have to take care of it. It's an urgent 911 situation, and you say, I'm just gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop it and throw it somewhere. No, that's exactly what that does not mean. Okay, so just these are just things to keep in mind in our walk in this ministry, that they come up. They come up, and it's important to be able to handle these kinds of situations, and also to be able to perform under stress. Okay, stress, none of us are immune to stress. Okay, but it's important to be able to operate and work under stress. Okay, and be able to get through whatever it is. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and exhorting to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Barakah, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.